So it's day 48 of me working on my new project, Comradery, and this is my first vlog. I wanted to start vlogging to kind of share parts of my founder journey. I think I would have found it pretty interesting when I first started to know what other early stage founders are going through. So I hope that some of you find this interesting or helpful. I wanted to start by just covering kind of what I've been working on. It's called Comradery and it's about communities. So online communities have always been super helpful to me throughout my life. For example, when I left my job at Stripe a couple years ago, I was solo founding and I was pretty lonely. So whenever I found another solo founder, I added them to the Slack group that I made called Startup Therapy, where we could, help each other out, share our woes, give each other feedback, keep each other accountable. More recently, I went through YC, and one of YC's biggest value props is really the community, where everyone, the batchmates, the alumni, the partners, are so willing to help you out to make your business succeed. But one of the ways that they do this is by fostering an excellent online community where people can ask for and give help. And it wouldn't really be possible without that. And so for me, and I'm sure for many of you, online communities have contributed so much value to my life now and in the past. What I've realized recently is that they're being pretty underserved by the tools that they have. If I'm creating an online community today, I can choose to put on Reddit or Facebook, but the problem with that is that my users aren't really my users, and the community isn't really mine. The content of the community is kind of commingled into a feed of others, and there's an increasing amount of ads. So I've seen a lot of communities turn recently to Slack because of the fact that they kind of own it. The generous free tier, it's kind of like default alive. Even if you have 10 or 20 users, a handful of your users can be chatting and making it feel alive and active, which is tough to do on a normal forum. But the problem is that Slack is really catered towards work, and for communities it kind of follows a power rule where it's really only useful for the top 10 to 20% active users in your community. For the other 80%, it's really a huge hassle because if you log in once every couple days, you're completely lost. There's just so many new messages, you don't really know what to look at. There's no way to know what you've missed out on. There's no way to get a weekly or daily email digest on what you should be paying attention to. The searchability is pretty bad in terms of, Slack's free tier limits, and also the fact that real-time chat in general, searchability is not great. On top of that, if you wanted to make a public community on Slack, the problem is discoverability. If I'm searching for help on a topic and a lot of that help is in a Slack group, I can't really find that on Google. So for all these reasons and more, Slack just isn't good for communities, as I'm sure a lot of community organizers have realized recently. The problem is that there isn't really a great alternative, but that's what I'm trying to build with Comradery, a really great community platform. The hope is by giving people the tools to easily create a white-labeled subreddit or white-labeled Hacker News that they control, that they can put on their own domain, that they can customize right down to the CSS. It creates better and healthier communities. So I'm really excited to work on this because I think that there's been a recent rise in online communities and what they can do and what they can add to people's lives. And I think that's going to continue happening. We already see a ton of companies that are based solely around online communities. You see Indie Hackers, which was acquired by Stripe, building an excellent online community of people building independent businesses. You see Alpha helping women in tech. It's awesome that these companies can add so much value purely online to these people's lives. The other big trend that is this rise in alternative online education through things like Lambda School, Flockchain, Students Who Design, where, people are learning fully remotely now. And it's going to be pretty lonely if they don't have a place online to talk to their fellow students. Maybe even more importantly, one of the biggest assets that these schools will have soon is their growing alumni network, which I'm sure would be happy to give back, but they can't do that without a great online community to interact with. So that's why I'm excited to build Comradery. If this interests you or you've been thinking about building an online community, I would love to chat. My DMs are open. As a little progress report, we've got our first user launching next week, which I'm super excited and slightly anxious about, but I'll definitely be keeping you guys updated on here. If there's any questions or topics that you want me to cover, please let me know. Thanks.